You see this paint color over here?
Would you look at this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
It's only for the most glamorous of Paint People viewers, which means all of you because you're freaking beautiful. Benjamin Moore, White Opulence.
Opulence. You own everything.
Any RuPaul's Drag Race fans watching? Otherwise known as OC-69 or 879, I'm going to talk about White Opulence today, which is an underrated off-white. We'll go into what makes it special and some color pairings that you can use with it in your home. And guess what? I'm not even going to ask you to press the like button this time. Consider yourself lucky. So what makes a white paint color white? Normally we're talking about colors that are really light or bright, which this one is. We can even find out on a technical level by looking at its light reflectance value, which is a super important piece of information to know. It has an 87.67 LRV. This means that it reflects about 87% of the light that hits it, which makes it pretty darn bright. It's pretty top tier brightness-wise for white paints, but it's not really the pinnacle either. Another aspect to think about with white paint colors is what kind of obvious undertones are there. If your white paint color has a pretty obvious undertone, chances are it's more likely an off-white rather than a stark white. So White Opulence does have the very slightest undertone. I would say it's a bit of a pinky quality present, but it's also mixed with a touch of gray to tone it down ever so slightly and soften it, which is nice. It helps make it feel a little more neutral leaning, so that gives it some more usability in a lot of cases. I do really feel that the pink undertone gives it some nice character. It also really coordinates with those glam colors that you might be into, like pink, like a more prominent one. Maybe your gold fixtures that I'm sure you all have. We love gold, right? With White Opulence, I think you can have your cake and eat it too, because it's not as boring as a sterile white that is undertone-less, but still bright and clean enough where your walls will seem white rather than bubblegum pink. This isn't just a wall color. In fact, I think it might be quite bright for a lot of walls, but if you're looking for that aesthetic, it'll do you good. It's also bright enough to be a suitable trim color on your baseboards and your doors and frames, especially for our first color pairing coming up, called Misty Blush. Color pairing number 1, boom. So not necessarily mauve or dusty rose. This color is more so beige meets peachy pink. It could be interpreted as a paint variation of rose gold, which I am a fan of, and that warm neutral beige aspect helps tone it down a bit and keep it feeling nice and neutral. It's not as neutral as an edgecomb gray or anything, but it does have that neutral quality that prevents it from feeling overbearing in certain situations. This is a more suitable wall color for main areas for me, but like I said, honey, if you want to go all White Opulence all over, then that's the tea. I can't. Now, I didn't want to go fully into the glam direction with this color palette, so I'm taking a bit of a U-turn with our next color, Metropolitan. And on its own, this color feels like a timeless, sleek, cool gray. But especially next to Misty Blush, you probably see a bit of that green coming through, showing up in a beautiful complementary fashion. This color is fairly muted, but the difference in undertones is where the two will stand out from one another. This is also your mid-tone option of the palette because it has an LRV right around 50, so perhaps not a perfect choice for rooms that maybe don't get a lot of lighting in your home because you'll start to lose that subtle green aspect that makes it really special. So try and give Metropolitan specifically a little more light, even if that means you have to supplement with some added floor lamps or whatnot. Now you have an excuse to go buy something. What else does this color palette need? Maybe some black? Almost black. That's what the color's called. So stupid. Anyway, this color is a borderline off black, and that's because although it's not a pitch black, it's still quite dark, especially when you put it next to White Opulence. Like, holy smokes, contrast. But I picked it because I love its dusty charcoal feel. It also feels a touch warm for some reason. It doesn't give me that bluish black that maybe wouldn't fit well with these other colors. If you really wanted to lean into that glam aesthetic and go really dramatic, having an almost black room with some punchy, warm metallic accents would be extremely #mood. I am such a millennial, even though I kind of feel like a baby boomer right now. Let's talk about trim colors before this video goes completely off the rails. I have 2 options for you for your baseboards, your doors, your frames, your casings, all that wood surrounding your drywall, basically. If you wanted whiter trim, like lighter and brighter, then you probably need to go with Chantilly Lace, because there's not many white paints brighter than White Opulence, so that should give you at least some contrast. A very slightly brighter white for your trim that could help distinguish between your woodwork and your walls. But honestly, you might be better off just continuing White Opulence onto your trim as well, just to keep it simple. I also like Collingwood as a slightly darker trim color option for White Opulence specifically, because even though it's kind of a warm neutral, it also has that slightly peachy, sometimes purple coloration that comes through that really makes it rather unique. Not nearly as dark as I normally like to go for my dark trim option, but I like this one here. Here's the palette all together. Let me know what you think. And before you do anything else, maybe check this one out.